Okay, in this video, I'm going to show you how to create a new as-built survey in Survey123 using an Excel file. To start with, you'll need to download the ArcGIS Survey123 Connect app onto your desktop and log in to your ArcGIS Online account. You'll start by creating a new survey, which we will title As-Built Survey. And we'll keep everything default with blank and advanced template, and we will create that survey. So this shows you just the default survey that populates once you've created it. What we'll be doing is we're going to be customizing the Excel file associated with the survey to change our survey design. If you go to the Files option and select that, you can see where this survey is stored and all the associated data and information attached to that survey. So we'll be customizing the XLSX file to design this survey. I'm going to be uploading this file into Google Sheets to customize. However, you can also do it in Microsoft Excel. It doesn't matter either way on how to do this. So we're going to upload that XLSX file to Google Drive. And so to find it, you can just go to your C drive, go to Users, select your user, go to ArcGIS, My Survey Designs, and then we will go to the folder where that as-built survey is, and we'll upload the Excel file. Okay, so now we have the Excel file associated with the survey, and as you can see, we have two questions that are populated, one a text and one a list with a yes/no option, which are correlated to the ones shown here. We're going to first just save as a Google Sheet so that we can start editing here. And so you can see that at the bottom we have 9 different tabs. 3 are shown in green and the other 6 are shown in blue. The 3 green ones are where we're going to be designing our as-built survey in, while the 6 blue ones are functioning as metadata. And of those metadata fields, the ones we'll be primarily working with are question types and appearances. But if we look at this survey type tab, this is where we will be listing our questions and naming them and determining what type of what question type is going to be displayed. The choices tab will show you the list of features associated with a question that is a select one from a list type, which I'll be going over in just a little bit. But this is, if you have a question that is a list, this is where you're going to store all the option types within. And then finally in settings is where you can set the title of your form. Of these metadata files, like I said, you have shows the version that this survey was created in. The question types show you the list of questions that you can select from and a description of those questions. The appearances shows you how to change the appearance of a question from its default. So it'll show you the name of it, which questions it applies to, and a description. The last 3 I don't really bother with, but it just shows you different Esri field types and the data associated with that. You have references, which just shows you, formula operators or HTML formatting or even mathematical expressions. And then finally, the reserved keywords are a list of standalone words that cannot be used to name a question. So for example, one of these reserved keywords is type. So you cannot use type as a standalone title for your question. You can do like structure type, and that will be fine, but as a standalone word, none of these can be used to name a question. So if we look at the survey tab, the first column here, type, will determine the question type. The next column, name, will determine the structure, or it will determine the name of the question stored in the database. And then the label column will show the display label of that question in the survey. The other columns we'll be working with are appearance, which where you can change the appearance of that question, and then required, which determines if a question is required or not. So basically, if it's required, the user has to populate that question in order to submit the survey. Okay, so that's just an overview of the Excel sheet. I'm going to show you a as-built survey that I have created, and we will be going through each of these three tabs here and just showing you how it works. So if we start here, we have our list of questions, and based on the row order that they're populated in, will determine how they're displayed in the design. So for example, the date and time will be the first question, while the structural location will be the next question shown, structure type will be the third question and shown, and so on. So the first question, we have a date and time, which means is we will collect a date and time value for that survey, and you can just, like I said, go to the question types, and you see date and time is how you will populate that first column, and it'll just describe that's a date and time input. Next, we have a geopoint, which will be where our structure type is collected. And if we go back to this question type, you can just go to geopoint, and that just says that that collects a point on the map by the user. Next one, we have structure type, which is a select one question from a list. And like I said, if you just go back to question types for select one, list name. So this is a multiple choice question. Only one answer can be selected, and we just replace the list name with the name of the choices list in this choices tab, which we'll be getting to later. So for this example, you'll keep the select one, but you'll just change the list name to whatever you name your list. We also changed the appearance for this question for the first time, and we made it a minimal appearance. And so if you go to that appearances tab and go to minimal, you can see that it applies to a select one question type, which is what we have. Also applies to a select multiple, barcode, and begin repeat questions. And basically what this does is it presents the questions in a more space efficient manner. Right now, our structure list is populated with roughly 40 different options. And so this has made it a drop-down menu rather than just having all of them stored side by side and taking up the bulk of the survey. So it just makes it a drop-down menu. And we have made that a required question, and also with that the structural location. So basically, the user will have to get a structure location and select a structure type for that survey in order to submit it. We have a text question, question for the structure comments, and we've made that a multi-line. So instead of the default single line, we now have a multi-line option for users to populate with to give them more room to type in structure comments. We have an image file where users can select an image or take a photo of their structure. There's also dimensions, so length, width, and height in meters, all of them being decimal question types where the user can populate the dimensions of the structure. And then finally, the number of posts, which is stored as an integer. And all those are being optional. So, it's optional if the users want to populate those dimensions or the number of posts or the structure photo. So we have all the questions we want in this survey. We have the correct order of them, and we have already customized what appearance some of those need to be and if they're required or not. So now we'll look at that structure type question, which if we go to the choices tab, we can see now the whole list of as-built structures that the user can select from. We have the name of each of those different options and the display label. And so for now, I've kept the name the same as the display label. It doesn't matter if there's a space or not in the name. So if you want to change it, that's completely up to you. But for now, I'm just keeping the name and display label the same. And then finally, on the list name, you need to populate the list name associated with each of these options. So for now, we just have one list, which is that structure underscore type. And then we need to populate that for all of these options so that they display in that list. Finally, in settings, I've just changed the form title. And that is what I've done here. So now if we want to edit our survey, we can go to File, Download as a Microsoft Excel file. If we go to our downloads and rename it to match what's in our survey, so that will just be as built survey, so it matches this naming convention here. We'll drag it over and we will replace it. So now if we go back to Survey123 Connect, we can see now that our survey has updated with our edits. We have that date time field. We can take a structural location. If we go to structure type, we can see all of the structure types there, which is roughly about 40 or so structures. All of them are right there from our populated list. There's under structure comments, you can see that there's a multi-line text box for users to comment on their structure. They can take a photo either from their camera or upload it from a file. And then we see the dimensions, questions, and the number of posts. There's other things you can do here in Survey123 Connect. So for example, you can go to the options and details and change some stuff. For example, you can make the image size bigger, and then you can publish that survey, and that will create the survey that users can now upload to their tablet or phone to collect as-built structures. And I should mention here, this is about Survey123 Connect in general, but once you've published a survey in Survey123 Connect, it can only be republished in Survey123 Connect. So there is a web application to create surveys in Survey123. However, if you ever publish, even if you create that survey in the web application, if you do publish it in Survey123 Connect, if you go back to the web application, it'll just show you that you cannot change the design there. So like I said, once you've published it in Survey123 Connect, you can only republish it there, or the survey design. So there we go. We have our survey that is ready for someone to download and collect as built data. Another thing I'm going to show you is, for example, in this case, we have 40 or so structure types, and maybe we want to break that up. So we want to break that the BDA options are stored in one list versus the PALs, which are in another list, ALs in a third list, and then all the other options stored in a fourth list. So if you go to this form here, all I've done is that I've just create, I have the question type the same, which is that select one. We've kept it the same appearance as minimal, but all I've done is just rename the list, sort of the data set, and change the list name. So in Curious, this is how all the as-built structures are categorized under these four categories of BDA, PALs, ALs, and other. And so now I've broken it up so that it's much more manageable for the user to select their associated structure type rather than going through a list of 40. This should be a lot more manageable. The only downside is that since we've broken up the list, we cannot make them a required question. The reason being is that if you've, for example, made the BDA list a requirement, then each survey that you submit has to be populated with a BDA structure type, even if it was just only a PALS. So, like I said, the advantage of this list is that you can make it a requirement and that the user has to populate it in order to submit the survey. So that prevents a loss of data. However, you just have this long list that the user has to go through. If you want, you could just shorten the list to the structure types that you want. Or if you want to keep the structure, all the structure types, this is another way to store that data in Survey123. It's just that, like I said, you can't make it a required question. So you just ensure that the user is populating those fields consistently to avoid data loss. So now if we go to the choices list, we can see that now all the BDA options here, which are these 6 options, are now stored under that BDA list name. While now all the PALs options are stored under the PALs list. All the ALs are stored under the ALs list, and all the other types are stored under the other. And then finally, I'm just going to show you a cool little thing where you have this media image column here. So this you can associate an image with those options. So for now, I have just I already have the images downloaded, but I'll show you how you can upload those into your Survey123 design. And so, but for now, like I said, we will just now download this survey. We will go to downloads and we will rename it to as built survey. And we'll just copy it over here, which I need to replace there. And now our as-built survey will update so that now if we go to BDA, we have the BDA options. And then if we go to PALs, you see all the PAL options that the user can select. And same goes for ALs and other. So like I said, just a different way on how to organize that in your survey design. So now if we go here and we go to media, that's where you can store all your images. So there's 2 parts if you want to associate an image with a list item. You first have to you have to ensure that the name of the image is the same here as your image itself with the correct file extension. So all these are JPEGs except this channel spanning one, which is a PNG. So right now I have all of those stored here, and you can see all the names align and their file types align to what is being named here in this media image column. And then we simply go to our media folder and we just copy those in. And now we will just update our survey. Now we have an image associated with the BDA, and if the user wants, you can click on it and it shows a blow up of that image. So this is very nice if you have a long structure list and there's someone who's new to a survey, that you can attach these photos to these structure types so that they can correctly see and name their structure. So there's that PALS bank attached photo. We could see the channel spanning and so on. So that's just a basic overview to designing a as-built survey in Survey123. I didn't go over all the columns, but just wanted to show you how to create a basic as-built survey. Thanks for watching.